Good morning, everyone. It's Suzanne Taylor King here for another live episode of Unlock Your Way with STK. And get ready today. We are talking to Townsend Wardlaw. He is a coach to elite founders and the coaches who coach those founders. And I want to just say, full transparency, Townsend and I have known each other in the online space for years. We've had numerous conversations. We're skipping the BS today, and we're going straight for a deep conversation about coaching, where coaching is going, what he's doing with coaches. And welcome, Townsend. Honored to have you.
Thank you. This is not our first rodeo, right?
Yeah, it's not. It's not. Get ready. Usually, I'm walking on the treadmill,
Yeah,
but I don't do that.
exactly.
I don't do that for
Don't do that for live broadcasts.
No, no, it's too
Yeah,
distracting.
that's probably a
I'm
good idea.
moving a little bit. So, all right. So, first insight I want to get into is most coaching is very, very tactical, right? It's almost like more consulting.
Yeah,
In the online space, I see courses labeled as coaching.
yeah.
I see group cohorts labeled as coaching, but the coach is not even there. So let's get into how yours is different, your thoughts on the tactical versus actual transformational
Yeah.
coaching.
That's a great place to start. And I'll be clear, this is not to throw shade on anybody or to
Right.
even say that, one thing is better than another. It's just to be clear. It's become quite popular to slap coach on your
Mm.
LinkedIn profile or Facebook page or what have you. Um, I love all the marketers out there, talking about the coaches they're working with that are doing $100,000 months.
Yes.
Well, for me, there are, and I was a consultant for 20 years. So for me, consulting is one domain, coaching is another domain. And that's probably the easiest distinction.
Hmm.
As a consultant, what I did was I applied my trade and I profited from my experience, my knowledge, my specific domain expertise, and my job was to help my clients solve their problems or get what they want by giving them the practice, the formula, the program, the system, the framework, the infrastructure, the guidance, the do this, don't do that, right? Because I'd been there and I've done that.
Hmm.
So it's a very expertise driven model. It works well. I had a very profitable solo consulting practice and I loved it. The challenge with consulting or teaching for that matter, because I would also put teaching as a variant of that, when I'm instructing. A lot of these coaches and people say that they're selling you systems. They're great teachers
Hmm.
and instructors. It's not coaching. Coaching for me is a very sacred space, a very sacred practice, a very sacred career, and the fundamental assumption or belief in coaching is that I am there to assist the person I'm serving to find their answers. The answers are inside of them. The knowledge is inside of them. And to go a little bit deeper, what they are experiencing in life, either in terms of challenges they're facing or resistance getting to the objectives and the goals they want, is actually a function of how they see themselves and they see the world.
Mm.
We wake up every day and we have an experience of life, and that experience of life is very, very unique, as I think we all can agree. No two people in the same experience will say, "Oh, here's what's going on." We'll have two different versions of it. Well, it's sort of like being in a movie theater where we're watching what's on the screen, but the real action's in the projector. And we can talk about what's on the screen. We can try to move stuff around. We could throw it, throw popcorn at it or rocks or
Hmm.
whatever. But nothing's really going to change on the screen until something alters up at the projector. And in the case of how I believe it works here in this thing we call life, is we are the projector. Now, there is observable reality, right? There is objective reality, but mostly what we do is we go around and we project onto that reality meaning, well, that's what they meant. And if you want to watch this, just go on social media and somebody will put a post up like I did this week, and all of a
Hmm.
sudden people said, "You're being this, you're being that," and they start
Yeah.
projecting and creating the meaning. Nobody said, Townsend, curious what you meant by that. Here's how I interpret it. No, they knew what I meant. And then because they know what I meant and what I was doing and why I was doing it, they know all these things about me, they then pass a judgment on, well, that's right or wrong or good or bad, or I like him or I don't like him. And that's how the world works. And we're all walking around projecting these things. Well, the coach's job for true transformational coaching we're talking about here is to assist others in seeing how that works and changing or gaining access to the projector so they can perhaps project different things or remove meaning and judgment for the world and see it from different perspectives, see it with different possibilities, and then they'll do different things. So as a consultant, my primary role was to make sure you got it, understood what we're talking about, master the steps, and then do it and implement it, reinforce it, be accountable, blah, blah, blah. Oh, it's exhausting just thinking about it.
I know.
As a transformational coach, I don't have to do a lot. All that
Mm,
is required is that I assist you in seeing something that you were certain was one way
mhm.
differently, and then you'll have different thoughts about it. And I'd love to share a little example if I could, just a simple idea.
Oh, I would love that because I notice, um, so many times the first step with my clients is the seeing themselves differently.
Yep. Yep.
Um, so I would love your take on that.
Well, I love helping people see themselves differently. I find for me that usually comes later. And
Mm,
I'll give a simple way of how we can see the world differently. And it's simply a way of seeing it and not just seeing it, but speaking about it and thinking about it. If I come up to you and I say, "Oh my God, Suzanne, we have a major problem. I'm going to tell you about this problem, and then we're going to work the problem, fix the problem, and here's what we're going to do, and I'm going to tell you
mhm.
about it right now." I haven't told you anything, but already your mind is producing thoughts like
Mhm.
getting ready for a problem,
Yeah.
right? Now, if I bring out a birthday cake, there's going to be a little cognitive dissonance because what are you?
Mhm.
Well, I'm looking for what's the problem. Now, that's a sort of cheeky example, but now let's take that into the context of business or working with other people. There's something going on between these two employees. Like they don't seem to be, working quite really well together. They're missing deadlines or whatever, or they have a manager and a direct report. If I go, oh man, we got a problem with these two. Well, immediately, subconsciously, automatically, inescapably, our mind will start to produce thoughts about how are we going to solve this problem, fix this problem, deal with this problem.
Mhm.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's how the mind works. Now, imagine I say, hey, there's a couple employees here that have been working together in a really interesting way. I think this is a huge opportunity for growth for both of them. I think it's actually something that'll be transformational for our company and could bring us to the entire next level of how we're leading and running the organization. Let's talk about it.
Mm.
Well, your mind is producing different thoughts. You have a different seeing, right? A different way of interacting with that. I
Yeah.
always say what we call something determines the verbs that we will use to work with the thing that we just called it something. And when we call something a problem, the verbs that we tend to use afterwards from the thoughts in our mouth are fix, solve, remove, kill, conquer.
Yeah.
When we say, oh, we've got a really special opportunity, or I think the universe just gave us a gift, right?
Mhm.
Well, we're going to play with it. We're going to explore it. We're going to, right? So we're on two different entire
Totally.
tracks. And
Yeah.
that's just a simple example of something really, imagine your entire life is like that. And everywhere you go, it's not somebody else
Hmm.
telling you it's a problem or not a problem. We are, again, automatically, subconsciously, irrevocably, inescapably creating labels for everything and saying what it is. I
Yeah.
have clients call me all the time and say, I want to work through a problem with you. And usually I'll say, great, I'm going to hang up on you now. Please call back and try again. And I hang up on them, right? Because I'm not going to fix a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, I could. I'm good at fixing problems. I love solving puzzles. I love
Mhm.
finding opportunity. I love creating magic, right? So it's a different game. And that's just in the language. That's just when we're speaking with another. We go through our entire life manufacturing what it is. So if you can help people simply shift that frame. I mean, I gotta say, this to me is the funnest and easiest job in the world. People call me up and say, "Oh my God, this is gonna kill my company. It's the worst thing ever."
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
go,
yeah.
what if it was the thing that actually turned this company into a world up? Like I just changed the frame. It's not quite
Mhm,
that simple. And we play and we look and they go, "Oh, it could be this," and we're like, "Great, go do that."
mhm,
I didn't give them advice. I didn't tell them they were looking at it wrong. I certainly didn't give them a prescription or a to do. Simple way to say it: the vast majority of coaches, and this is no shade on them, are in the how-to business.
yes.
Prescriptions, how to, right? I don't answer how to, because what I know is whoever's sitting across from me knows the answer, but only how to based on what they see, or they can find the answer. I mean, it's 2026. You don't need to ask
Yeah,
another human being how to. We have technology
everything,
everywhere. Oh my gosh. The
everywhere,
stuff I was just doing this
everywhere.
morning with ChatGPT was blowing my mind.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Well, what I wanna pull out of that is the chemical reaction that happens in your body when you think, "Oh, shit, problem,"
Yep.
and you go into solving, fixing, or he said, she said, not my
Contraction,
problem,
adrenalize,
right?
right?
Oh, yeah. And then versus
Cortisol.
being in opportunity
Mhm.
mode, and,
Yeah,
I had a coach of mine say to me a long, long time ago, "Support, not solve. It's not my job to solve.
that's right.
It's your job to solve." And I think about those chemical reactions and how entrepreneurs, coaches, they a lot of health issues because of
Yep.
the self-imposed stress of achievement, signing clients, enrollment, which is a
Yeah.
perfect segue into
Yeah.
enrollment and
Yeah.
conversations that, I'm wondering your take on seeing
Mhm.
how overcomplicated coaches make.
I got a great story for that.
Okay. You always have great stories, by the way, which is
Thank you.
fabulous. Yeah,
I do want to make one sort of capstone point on what I'm saying about,
yeah,
coaches, different kinds of coaches. There's something really important here, right? And I said no shade on folks that are not in the transformational world and I call them transactional coaches. No
mhm,
shade on the people that have the systems, the process, the framework, the I'll show you how to. However, there's a reckoning coming.
mhm,
And if you look at the masses of coaches that live in that world and this giant tidal wave tsunami coming called AI,
mhm,
what I will tell you is there will not be a lot of room in the marketplace. More specifically, there won't be a lot of value for coaches that trade in how-tos and
mhm,
systems and prescriptions. Now, they'll still have a job. I'm not saying AI is going to replace all coaches, but the value of those coaches, there are not going to be a lot of coaches in that world that aren't selling programs to other coaches, right? Those people are always going to be ripping people off,
mhm,
but there's not going to be a lot of money lying around for coaches who show people the way. Why? I'm sorry, I have the world's greatest coach at my fingertips.
mhm.
And by the way, if I want Tony Robbins or name somebody else, they all have these digital avatars I can work with. If I want to ask
Yeah,
how-to questions, I'm going to ask the smartest people in the world.
yes.
Yes, I might want to talk it through with the human at some point, but I'm not going to pay a lot for that. So
Mhm,
that's really important, I think, for coaches to hear that if where you're at is, well, I guide my clients and I'm an advisor. Yes, I love that. You're amazing. And you may want to be, looking at the Thelma and Louise moment that's coming up here,
mhm.
right? Because there's a big old cliff and it's not going to be pretty. So that's my loving invitation for coaches to go, maybe I should look at other ways to create value. Now,
Yes.
as for enrollment, where do we even start? I was talking to someone that's part of our, Luis and I have started a community, a very small community to support transformational coaches. I'll maybe talk about that later. But we were doing some coaching in there with an individual, and specifically, uh, they were working through some enrollment questions and conversations and what have you. Now, I'm gonna weave in this idea of, rather than let me tell you how to enroll people better, what we went was on a journey to how does the world occur for this coach
Mm,
such that they're asking this question such that they're trying to solve, they see a problem here, they're trying to solve it. Well, where are they looking from? And to make a really long story short, they were asking a lot of questions that were basically related to how am I going to convey the value and all these things like that? How am I going to, get them to understand blah, blah, blah?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what became pretty clear as we got curious about not just what question are they asking, but what do they think they see is there was a perspective, we'll call it, an idea that they had that coaching was something you had to convince people of.
Mm,
Coaching was something, that people needed and that they knew what this person needed. So it was about how do I help them?
mm,
And more specifically, how do I convince them of this thing? So we slowed down. We said, do you see the value of coaching? And the person was like, absolutely. I've spent so much money on coaching. It's wonderful. So coaching occurs a certain way for you. Tell me about coaching for you. And the individual went on to talk about how powerful it was, blah blah. Like it was a no brainer. Like it's coaching something I can't wait to spend money on, essentially.
right.
Well, what's interesting is you're out there in the world, and what you tell me you see are people that need convincing, people that need persuading, people that need overcoming objections.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if what you're creating in the world is the idea that, well, that's how people are. And not surprisingly, when we look for those things, well, sometimes we we lock in on the folks that are that way, and sometimes we even project onto people that are otherwise neutral those things. So we talked about this idea of what if you could create a world where
Mm-hmm.
people were receptive to coaching, people embraced coaching, people really, really were looking for help to solve the problems that they had in their life, reached opportunities in life. And not all those people were ready now, but that's something entirely different. Like, literally, how does the world occur as a place where it's hard to sell coaching or it's actually really easy to sell coaching? Louisa asked me, Louisa's my wife, and also my business partner. She asked me a question about a year ago. She said, if you were going to give one piece of advice to a coach that would change everything for them, like if they actually heard you and like did it, what would it be?
Mm,
I said, well, that's easy. I said, I wouldn't really give them advice. I'd share with them how the world occurs for me. I said, I decided a couple of years ago that I'm going to play a game, and the game is called, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to go out into the world, physically, virtually, whatever,
mm-hmm.
and whoever shows up in my life on a screen I'm going to take it as a truth that God sent them to me. Now, I use the word God
Mm-hmm.
outside of a religious context, but as a consciousness, the universe. So if God doesn't resonate, pick the universe, consciousness, another deity, doesn't matter to me. But whatever you hold as a higher power in the universe, I said I play a game called they've been sent to me to serve, to
Mm,
assist. There's something they want, there's something they're looking for, there's something they're struggling with. And it's like I've been given an assignment by the universe, like, hey, go take care of them, help them out.
I love that.
Yeah, it's kind of fun, and that's
Mhm.
distinct from I'm going to go and see who needs help if people need help, right? So
Right.
even that idea, I wonder
Right.
if I'm supposed to help this person,
Mm-hmm.
and if they're in front of me, well, that's why they're here. And by the way,
Yeah.
both are made up,
Both are
right?
made up,
They're
and
both completely fabricated.
in Steve Hardison's book, The Ultimate Coach, there was a spot that said something about the way he treated everyone. He treated everyone like they were already a $200,000 client,
Yes.
right?
Yep. I
Just
got some of these
anybody
ideas
who
from Steve,
came to
right?
him. I
Yep.
love
Yep.
that. I love the idea. I messaged someone back and forth on WhatsApp the other day, and she's in my community.
Yeah.
She was struggling with a little something, and I just offered an insight. And
Hmm.
3 days later, she messaged me back and said, "My whole world has shifted because you asked me that question.
As it so often does, right?
But what if I spent that valuable time with her, whether it was 5 minutes or 50 minutes, doesn't matter. If I spent that in my own brain of how do I enroll this person? How do I overcome objections? How do I ugh,
Yeah,
ah,
yeah.
yeah, that just doesn't
Here's what's
feel
fun
right for me.
yeah. What's fun for me is I take that as, okay, here's the mission I'm on.
Mhm.
And guess what? People show up in my life.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're they're in a coffee shop, sometimes they're online, sometimes it's
Mhm.
just a name. I see somebody on LinkedIn in this feed. I go, I think I'm supposed to help them. Like
Mhm.
I saw them 3 times. I'm like, oh, universe must be sending me somebody. I don't
Mhm.
spend a lot of time questioning it. I just say, okay, great. How do I do my job?
Yeah.
Well, I gotta reach out to them, what have you. I gotta do whatever I'm gonna do. There's lots of tactics. They don't really matter. This is the thing. All the marketers saying, oh, none of that matters, right?
Mhm.
We run an academy to teach coaches how to create clients and grow their practice. And when you're starting out, there's a lot of process and structure and what have you. By the time you get over 100,000 and you want to really grow, you don't need any of that shit. None of it.
Yeah.
So what you need is the knowing that
Mm.
you have something of worth and value to give, and this person's who you're supposed to give it to right here, right now.
Mhm.
Now, think about the other things. Coaches have the idea that, well, the thing that keeps me from enrolling people is, I get nervous or I'm insecure. Guess what? Me too. I don't always feel confident. I don't always feel certain. I don't always feel sane when I reach out to people. But I
Yeah.
got the rule saying, yeah, the universe told me you got it. God says go do it.
Mhm.
So the universe is not interested in whether or not I feel nervous or insecure or like it's like, yeah, do it anyway. It's like it's my boss.
Mhm.
So that makes it really simple. I don't pay attention to how I feel about this.
Yeah.
I'm on a mission and I do what I do. Now, here's to me the best part. I interact with somebody and I'm not wondering if there's something that they need or whether I know there is. So we get right down to that. Not everybody likes that approach. Not everybody is comfortable. Not everybody thinks that's no, I don't care. Guess what? They go, you're annoying, or they ghost me, right? Or
Well,
worse.
yeah.
Guess what? What I believe is the universe, God, consciousness says, great, nice job. Thank you for your service. That
Mhm.
was me doing my job. Whatever I did was my job, and I did it perfectly. And they got whatever they were supposed to get, including they'll meet a coach some later date that'll help them. So
Yeah.
it's so effortless. I'm not concerned about it. I'll tell you a real life story. There's a gentleman that I saw on my feed, like, I don't know, about a dozen times in a week. I was like, I never seen this guy before. He's doing some cool stuff. Oh, he's here in Arizona. I saw that.
Mhm.
So I would connect it to somebody else that I coach. I said, hey, do you know so and so? He goes, yeah, we're actually good buddies. I said, listen, I'd like an introduction, please. I'm supposed to meet with him. Just like that.
I
He said,
love the
wonderful.
trust. Love the internal trust that that
That,
speaks
and
to.
that takes and that, thank you. And that takes practice, right? When I was first
Yes.
doing this, I didn't trust it. I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. Or no, the
Mhm.
more you do it, the more it's like a chair. I sit in a chair now. I'm pretty, certain how it's going to work,
Mhm.
right? It's not like this is a variable, but maybe if I've never seen a chair before, I'm going to be like, I don't know about this thing. So I said, could you please make an introduction? All I need is a text three-way. And I said,
Mhm.
hello, blah, blah, blah. I'm watching your stuff. I'd love to meet up with you for a drink. We're here locally or coffee or whatever I said.
Mhm.
Not a lot of explanation, not a lot of like, what's this about? Just like, hey, here's what I want to do. He can look me up, he can ask, what have you. Anyway, we get together, we're chatting for 5 or 10 minutes, really fun conversation. And he says, I'm just really curious. Why did you reach out? I said, well, you'll take this how you take this, but God told me to. He goes, I'm sorry, what? I said, yeah, God told me to. Now listen, I don't hear voices or like, burning bushes and stuff, but like I get
Mhm.
these nudges and to me it's from God and so I reached out. He's like, okay, what else? I said, well, that means there's some way I'm supposed to assist you. He goes, well, what do you know about that? I said, well, I don't get that information. God doesn't tell me what you need. we're gonna have to have that conversation. So let's get cracking. What's going on? Tell me about your life. Tell me where you're trying. Right. So it just led into a conversation.
Yeah.
We've been working together now for, I don't know, almost a year,
Mhm.
and the things that have occurred in this young man's life are incredible. Like it's been beautiful. It's been beautiful.
So
That's
amazing.
enrollment right there. It's actually
It
doesn't need to be
is.
any hard. Doesn't need to be harder than that.
Yeah. Um, well, one, the trust, um, and I think that does take practice, years of practice. Um, but also the releasing of the emotional attachment if somebody says, "No,
Yep.
thank you,"
Yep.
or "I don't wanna meet with you," or "I
Yep.
don't wanna talk to you,"
Yeah.
whatever that is.
I want to be clear about that.
Mhm.
There's releasing it, but that doesn't mean you won't experience it.
Oh,
Right? There's an
of
idea
course.
coaches.
Yeah.
I know you know this, but for
Yes.
folks watching, there is no place in the future called nothing bothers me.
Oh,
We're
no.
human. Yeah. Well, but you'd be surprised. Like I'll tell people, oh my God, I just got on a phone call with this guy. I was terrified out of my mind. They're like, really?
Mhm,
You? I'm like, yeah, me. Right? Because
mhm.
I'm playing a game with guys with, 6 to 9 zeros after their
Yeah.
net worth.
Mhm.
I get a little nervous. I get a little intimidated. Some of the people that I'm serving are really playing massive games. And I have the who am I to be serving them? So
Yeah.
you never earn out of that. I just want to say that you never earn out of that. You'll never evolve to this state of
Not giving a
like
shit.
not, not giving a shit. Yeah. And why would you want to? Right. That'd be
No.
really sad.
No, I think
Mhm.
being willing to go for a no means
Huh?
means you're stretching. Um,
Yeah.
and I gave a presentation last week to 17 CEOs, and I don't normally get nervous for, a
Yeah.
class or a presentation at all.
Yeah.
It was a Vistage group and local to me, so
Yep. Yep.
everyone here is local.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the guy who runs the group is a very dear connection of
Mm.
mine. So, it wasn't that I was in front of, you know, 17, 6, 7, 8-figure business owners. It wasn't that. It was, will they see me as valuable? Will the person bringing me in feel like, "Oh, yeah, I know her. Amazing."
Yeah. Yeah.
And so as soon as I checked in with that, there was no worries, there was no fear, there was no hesitation on me being myself in front
Mm.
of, some people who are massively financially more successful than
Hmm.
me, but not more successful than I've been in my life. And
Right.
I I think it was really when I shared it with a couple clients in my group, and they were like, "You? You got nervous?" I'm like, "Well,
Yeah.
it's a different it of course, if I wasn't
Of
getting
course.
nervous, I mean, it's the nervous and do it anyway feeling that I think is so important."
Yeah, I think of this life experience being human as like a big amusement park, right? You've heard the
Yeah.
expression, we're not human beings having a spiritual experience, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. I view, and this is very simplistic, but we are spirit here in human form, hanging
Mhm.
out, going to the park, the amusement park called humanity. And at the amusement park, you got your rides, you got your marriage, you got your kids, you got your bankruptcy, you get right. They're all rides, just like at the amusement park. Imagine going to Six Flags and all the rides are like flat, right? The roller coaster is like just a
Boring.
train. Boring, right? You got to be able to put your hands up and go, ah. That's what this is for, kids. This is for, scaring the you know what out of yourself once in a while. Maybe
Yeah,
not
I
too
love it.
much or so you get paralyzed, but
Mhm.
man, yeah. May I never stop feeling that, you know, adrenal rush, cortisol flush of, ooh, I wonder what's going to happen. Maybe they won't
Uh-huh.
like me.
Let's go. Let's go. Um,
Yeah.
well, let's talk a little bit about the 4% of
Mm.
coaches that actually make over $100,000 a year.
Yeah. It's,
And
it's going down to one, by the way.
okay,
Yeah. I
I
think.
believe that. I believe that.
Yeah.
Um, I I see a lot of
Yeah.
struggles in
Mhm.
the financial department.
Yep. Yeah.
What do you think separates that 4%, 1%?
Yeah.
And
Whatever it is, it doesn't matter.
yeah, doesn't matter.
Well, I'll say there's a number of external things that are the delineator, and then there's also internal things.
Mm,
And maybe let's talk about the external things first, because those should go pretty quickly. Folks who, and again, 100K is an arbitrary number. Frankly, it ain't that much money these days.
no.
You got a family of four, that's not a great lifestyle. If it's
Mm,
just you, that's not too bad with no expenses. But it's a nice
mhm,
number. The other thing is, if you can get to that, usually you can get at least some scale after that.
mhm,
External things are fairly simple, right? First and foremost, folks that are going to get to that level, exceed that level, there must be a shift from what I call winging it, seeing what works, and process. Now, when I say process, I don't mean like you have to have my process, but you have to have a process mindset. You have to think systemically
mhm,
in order to just not just grow a business, but maintain it, right? Because there are coaches who will hit a milestone like 100K, and then it'll all dry up and they won't have any more clients, have to start all over again. So they're on this roller coaster. So process related, how do you perform outreach? How do you create a nurture list? How do you keep people over the sometimes years it takes to build a relationship with them, connected to you, et cetera. So there's
mhm,
a million parts about process. The other one that's really, really key is there must be a shift from selling the experience of coaching to selling the solution to the problems people had that they value.
mm,
People spend money to solve the problems or access the opportunities they want,
mhm,
period. Now, there is some portion of the world, I'm pointing to the lower end of it, that want to feel better and experience coaching and go to the retreats and what have you. And there's some business there, but it's not a lot. It's not sustainable. It's not scalable. So moving from I sell experience, I sell fulfillment, peace, light, all of which things I'm very big on.
mhm,
But if you cannot translate those into tangible value, there's a formula, ROI, return on investment. And it's a financial formula, and it means what the money you invest, did you get back what you wanted out of that? A coach comes to me and says, I want to do $100,000. I want to generate $100,000 in revenue. I said, what's required for that? And they start doing a lot of talking. So I said, no, that's a lot. That's too much stuff.
mhm,
What is required is finding somebody or somebodies with problems of sufficient value that they will invest $100,000 with you all at once in 10K chunks, whatever, 10 people at
mhm,
10,000, it doesn't matter. And as a good rule of thumb, you can say somewhere between 10 and 100 times the investment will be a sufficient return. So if I want to make $100,000, I got to go find people or a person who is playing a game. I like to call them games. That's
mhm,
either removing $1 million in excess cost or generating $1 million in excess revenue. And if I can work with
mhm.
them, they're going to give me a piece of that.
Yeah.
And the higher above 10x, the easier it is. It's not much more complicated than that. So
Yeah.
that's one. The other is to move from coaching, and I coach everyone, to a high specificity of who you coach. Now, I'm going to put a little asterisk in it here, because coaches who are just starting are like that game at the carnival, whack-a-mole, just hitting everything that moves. As you want to turn into a real professional coach, you got to say, well, here's who I serve. Now, I'm not talking about a niche. I'm not talking about a marketing angle. I'm talking about a set of people where you are uniquely qualified and have personal credibility in their world to assist them.
Mhm,
So you must do that if you want to get to about $100,000 and even a little bit past that. Now, once you get above that, you actually can throw all that stuff away and you can coach anybody. But to get to the first level of real professionalism, you have to focus not on this ideal, well, I coach millionaires, blah, blah, but what's the problem they're looking to solve? So it's specificity, hyper specificity
Mm.
around the person, but more specifically the problem. I call these the undeniable problems, right? So
Oh,
I serve
okay.
founders,
Mhm.
uh, and there's income ranges or revenue ranges typically between 2 and 5, 5 and 10, 10 and 25 million, whatever. But what I know about founders is they all experience four undeniable problems. Now, when I say undeniable, I don't mean they have this problem or will admit it, but they can't deny that this is a problem for other people and that this is a founder's problem, right? So anybody I'm talking to that's a founder, I can have this conversation. I'm not trying to convince them they have this problem, but if they're going to argue with me about that being a problem for founders, I'll go to the mat. I will go all the way on this because they're not telling the truth.
Right.
If you are a founder, one of the undeniable problems that you have growing your business is you're still the hub of the wheel, everything flows through you. Another one you have is you've built a leadership team that are people you give orders and tasks to. You get them to solve problems. They're not bringing you problems and what they see in opportunities.
Mhm.
There's a couple more I could share. I'm not going to go into that, but you got to be really clear on these are the people I serve. These are the problems they have. Now go forth and have conversations about that and ignore everybody else. So the
Yeah.
undeniable problems, is really a good focal point for again the external shifts that have to happen. I'll pause because we can talk about internal, but I figured you might have some stuff to weigh in here.
No, well, I just feel as though this seems so simple, but yet so few are willing to do it. And what do you think that disconnect is?
Oh, that's a good question. My judgmental, arrogant self wants to call people names, but I know that's not true. Listen, people that are attracted to coaching usually have done so because they like people, they
Mhm,
like the conversation, they've had great experiences of coaching themselves. They maybe took a course on coaching certification and methodology, and it just sounds great. You get to talk to people and help them. It's going to be nice. Well,
mhm,
they've never had somebody sort of shake them and say, listen, no, this is a business. You
mm,
can get into being a doctor because you really like helping people, but you're going to have to go to medical school. And doctors struggle with this, dentists struggle. How do you build a practice around it? So
yes,
unfortunately, there's not the infrastructure in the world of coaching or even in society that says, let me help you take your passion, your hobby, whatever it is, and turn it into a career, right? What's the
mm,
business layer? So, let's just call it there's not the native, natural, or inherent, or even structurally trained. This is a business. Here's how you do it.
right,
And everybody's reinforcing. If you go out there, nobody's marketing. Hey, listen, this is going to be a pain in the ass. It's going to take you 6 to 7 years to make money. You're going to have to work your ass off and do a lot of things that are uncomfortable. Join my
mhm.
master class. I
Yeah,
haven't,
no,
I haven't, I haven't seen that ad
nobody's
yet,
saying nobody's
right?
selling that.
No.
Um,
So
well,
so coaches are
here's
chasing the other side, and usually they get really, really disappointed and frustrated and
yes,
sad, and they end up thinking it must be me. Everybody else is getting rich. So I
mhm.
don't know. I have a lot of sympathy and compassion for that.
I do, I feel as though my BS meter is super high, right?
Yeah.
Um because of being in the online space for and I always relate things to, like, dating, right? Do you
Yeah.
believe
Right.
everything you read on a dating app about someone? No. I hope you don't, and if you do, see me after class. Um,
Yeah.
but it's kind of in the online space, I think, the comparison-itis trap and some of my first coaching consulting clients were dentists because I had a 20-year career as a dental hygienist.
There you go. You knew
So
their world.
I did, and it was
Yeah.
such an I won't say easier transition, but I was already having conversations with dentists about the practice that I worked in and why is it so great and why is it different and why don't
Yeah.
you have to advertise and how do you get 30 new patients a month without, ads in the newspaper or
Yep.
online and it was a very easy conversation to have because I knew their problems. I knew what they were struggling with. I knew how what we did at my office was different. And I say my office. I fully felt as though my boss, his practice was mine. I had complete ownership of the being in that office. And it was
Yeah,
such a
yeah.
privilege, such an honor. Shout out to Dr. Walker, um, who's now retired and playing golf.
Good
Um,
for him.
I know, I know, it's so good. And I think when I think about that, it was the intellectual property that I possessed that enabled me to have really great conversations with those first clients that were intrigued with what I was doing.
Mm,
And it's kind of why I love intellectual property so much. Like, who are you? Who were
mm,
you when you were 7, 15, 20?
yeah.
And what does that look like in a unique combination in the world? So I'd love to talk a little bit about that for you. Now you were a consultant, and now being in this coaching space, where do you feel like that consulting background aided you? I mean, you have great
Mm,
people skills, so I think that is number 1 for me. Great conversation skills, people skills, you know how to build rapport, you know how to volley a conversation back and forth, you know how to not make it all about you, right? Like, there's an art to
mm,
conversation. But beyond that, what do you
yeah.
think it was that really helped you the most?
Well, I think it's relevant to share. So in 2018, uh, I was running my solo consulting practice,
Mhm,
largely focused on scale up stage businesses, 2 to 10 million, working with founders in and around revenue growth, consulting, systems, process, tools, technique, technology, blah, blah, blah. I was doing $1 million a year, just me. No
beautiful,
expenses, no over. Yeah, great business.
beautiful.
I would sit down with the founder, we'd talk, I'd do a diagnostic. I'd say, yeah, this is going to be 30,000 a month, and you'll get about 6 hours of my time. And we would rock and roll. So great
Yeah,
business, right?
yeah,
And I've been selling at that point for 20 something years, so I know sales. Well, I worked with a guy named Rich Litvin, who's a very well known
mhm.
coach. And in my first session with him, I hired him. He's the first big boy coach I hired. I wrote him a $120,000
Oh,
check.
okay. Uh-huh.
Right? I'd had other coaches, but like, this is 120 grand here. And in the first session, he asked me a question. He said, which of your clients inspire you? And I said, none of them. I inspire them. And in his cheeky little English accent, he said, well, isn't that a shame? And it rocked
Yes.
me. And what I saw was, man, I could spend the rest of my life doing this,
Mhm.
but I'm not fulfilled. I'm not inspired. I'm making everybody else inspired. I don't want to do it. I want to do what he's doing.
Yeah.
So I decided I'm going to be a coach. I didn't really know what that meant, but I was working with him, so that was pretty good understudy. Now, in my mind, this was going to be simple, right? I'm already doing $1 million a year. I know how to sell. I got a whole base of clients. What I'll say to folks, uh, if they'll listen, is to build a coaching practice that is sustainable. It will take you about 6 years, right? From the day you start, it'll take about 6 years.
Mhm.
Well, much to my surprise and shock, it took me 6 years to get back to the income that I was doing from consulting with coaching, right? And I thought it'd be like no big deal, just swap it out.
Yeah.
What I'll tell you, Suzanne, is that was an internal shift, right? I went from selling tangible value this to I'm just going to sit there and we're going to talk and I'm not going to say much.
Mhm.
Um, all the insecurity in here was what made that difficult. So
Yes.
while I had domain expertise, knowledge, et cetera, I had all these things. There was nothing that was able to replace number one, a commitment to I'm doing this, right? There was no way I was going back,
Mm.
right? So I don't know if anything helped. In fact, maybe where it came from hindered, but what made the difference was a couple things. One, I was committed. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to figure it out. No matter
Mhm.
what happens, I'm not going to be tempted to go back and sell advice, I'm over it. I'm done. Like it was a final decision for me. And there were times when that decision was really scary, like looking at the bank account scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was one. So the certainty of this is going to happen, I'm going to do is the commitment to it. The other is a commitment to, I don't like the word relentless, but let's just say relentless action, meaning I'm going to get into action. What I know is the only way you figure stuff out is trying and it not working the way you think. So the less time you spend thinking about what you're going to do and putting something into action, the better. So if
Yes.
you look back at the last, well, whatever the 7, 8 years of my life, it has been intention, right? What do I need to get done? How can I put that into action? Don't worry about making it pretty. Don't worry about looking. And then what will I learn by it not working? I was at the gym this morning playing with ChatGPT, and I've just had another, we'll call it breakthrough, if you will, about
Mhm.
how to really talk about and message and be clear on who I serve. I've been at this for a lot of years and I'm still going, okay, how do I talk about this?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of
Same.
at-bats behind that. Yeah, well, of course, but a lot of
Same.
people think they're going to sit there, in their loft or coffee shop and work it over and over and over, and then they'll have it right. It's like, no, you won't.
Mhm.
I've
You
had
won't.
thousands of conversations. What I say to a coach is, hey, making 100 grand ain't hard. You need to wake up on a Monday morning and have 6 to 8 connect conversations, if you think of the prosperous coach methodology, on your
Mhm.
calendar. Well, how are you going to do that? Well, you have to have roughly a list of 100 prospects that you're reaching out to on a weekly basis. Meaning, on a weekly basis, you're touching. I call them touches: email, text, DM, whatever. You're taking action that equals 100 touches,
Yeah.
right? You got to do 100 stuff, 100
Yep.
stuffs,
100 stuff.
right? And most of that's going to be garbage. Most of it's going to be a waste of time. Most of it's going to feel like you totally screwed it up. And then go back to the same person the week after and send them another stuff, but different.
Mhm.
And it's that kind of relentless action in a system committed to, I'm going to get there. That's the only recipe for success. And what they say is, sometimes it takes 20 years to be an overnight success.
Well, what I love about the reality of that, and I say that all the time, is that when someone came to me recently and wanted to hire me, had no money, wants to be a consultant and a coach, has an amazing set of intellectual property and corporate career. I mean, has everything
Mm.
required, right? And he said, "I need to make money this month." Now, he
Good
had
luck.
already he had already hired 3 people before me to the tune of 20,000, 30,000, and $40,000, and didn't work. And I said, "I'm
Shocking.
gonna be" no, right? And I said, "Look, the reason why those things didn't work is because it's only been a year.
Yeah.
You're not reaching out to people, you're not having conversations with people, and you have no income and you need money. My best business advice from being an entrepreneur for 40 years is get a job
Yeah, get a
and
job so you're not so needy and stressed.
right,
Mm,
remove that need to close
mm.
somebody or need,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
panic, that
Yep,
that vibration is so
yep,
unattractive to other people and you can't hide it. So
yep,
just
mm,
solve that problem
yep.
and build your coaching practice on the side, serving people.
I love that recommendation. Hey, I know we got to wrap in a minute. Can I
Yeah.
share two
Yes,
resources and
please.
things? Cool.
What you're up to, how everybody can get in touch with you, and all that good stuff.
Yep. Okay, two things I want to share. One is I was running a community that was free for coaches. It was called the Coaches Operating System. We shut that down last year. Um, What is available right now that people can get access to is something I call the Client Creation Copilot. What I've done is I've
Mm.
taken all of my knowledge about how to sell, and specifically how to sell coaching, how to enroll clients, and put it into a custom GPT through ChatGPT. Yeah, it's
Woohoo!
really wicked cool.
Yeah.
It will train you on all the process steps for selling coaching, literally step by step by step by step. It will test you. You can run quizzes and whatnot. It
Hmm.
will role play, right? So you can literally say, here's who I'm going to be meeting with. Be this person,
Ooh, that's
let's
good.
go through a connect call. Let's do a discovery. Let's do a the offer conversation, decision meeting, negotiating. It'll work through all that. It'll score that. It'll give you tips. You can put transcripts from enrollment conversations in there, and it'll tell you where you've got holes and gaps and what you can do or what you need for the next call. Clientcreationcopilot.com. There is a fee. It's $5 a month. Macy pays for my infrastructure costs, and there's a free 3-day trial. There have literally been hundreds and hundreds and thousands of dollars of coaching revenue created from this. Everybody who uses like, oh my God, this has changed my
Hmm.
game. So clientcreationcopilot.com. The second thing is I'd love people to know that what Louisa and I are up to now is called Limitless Academy. It's lmtlss.coach, limitless.coach. It is a very small container. It is a very exclusive container, and it is specifically for transformational coaches who want to and are aspiring to create a 7-figure, that's $1 million a year, transformational coaching business. So it's not for people launching offers and systems, it's not for that. And it is open to coaches with income beginning around the $20,000-$30,000 a year range. So if you're in that range, you can apply. We only open enrollment once a quarter. Open enrollment will be starting again in March for an April admission. But if you get on the mailing list, not only will you be able to apply if you want to, but if you're not ready to apply, that's where all of my content is going, my articles, my posts, all the good stuff. I'm not putting it on social anymore. I'm tired of throwing crap out there to everybody. So if you go to limitless.coach, it's a very small website. It's one page, and there's an opt-in on the bottom. It's actually no vowels. It's LMTLSS.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Let me. L
LMTLSS.coach. Yep. And yeah, get on the list. You'll get content from me, articles. I'm dropping a really cool article tomorrow, Saturday, but if not, you'll be able to get stuff down the road. Yep, that's exactly right. So yeah,
Awesome.
hope to see you in there. And this
Yes.
has been fun, Suzanne.
Yes, thank you so much, and thank you for, as my son used to say, TFBY, thanks for being you and just inspiring the heck out of me with your thoughts, your
Mm.
wisdom, and I love how you show up in the world, even though sometimes it's a little controversial
It
to
can be, right?
be different. I personally love it, and if you love that
Amazing.
too, please give Townsend a follow and keep up with what he's up to, and I'll share all the links everywhere in the chat.
Okay. Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much. Got to
Yeah,
run. Have a great, great rest of your week.
you too.